Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from the 6th Canto, chapter 17, entitled Mother Parvati curses Chitraketu, text 32. Naham virincho na kumara naradao na brahma putra munaya sureshaha vidhama yasye hitam amsakam sakam na tat swarupam pritagishamanina naham virincho na kumara naradao na brahma putra munaya sureshaha vidhama yasye hitam amsakam shakam na tat swarupam pritagishamanina naham virincho na kumara naradao na brahma putra munaya suresaha vidhama yasye hitam amsakam shakam na tat swarupam pritagishamanina. Bolo. Swarupam Vritakishamanina. Vaishnavis. Naham Virincho Nakumara Naradao Na Brahma Putra Munaya Suresaha Vidhama Yasya Hitam Amsakam Saka Natat Swarupam Pritagishamanina Ham Virincho Nakumara Naradao Na Brahma Putra Munaya Suresaha Vidhama Yasya Hitam Amsakam Saka Na, not, aham, I, Lord Shiva, Virinchaha, Lord Brahma, na, nor, Kumara, the Ashvini Kumaras, Naradao, the great saint Narada, na, nor, Brahmaputraha, the sons of Lord Brahma, Munayaha, great saintly persons, Sura Ishaha, all the great demigods, Vidama, know, Yasya, of whom, Ihitam, activity, Amshakaha, those who are parts of the parts, Na, not, Tat, his, Swarupam, real personality, Pritak, separate, Isha, rulers, Maninaha, who consider ourselves to be. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Neither I, Lord Shiva, nor Brahma, nor the Ashvini Kumaras, nor Narada or the other great sages who are Brahma's sons, not even the demigods can understand the pastimes and personality of the Supreme Lord. Although we are part of the Supreme Lord, we consider ourselves independent, separate controllers, and thus we cannot understand His identity. Purport. Brahma Samhita 5.33 states, Advaitam achyutam anading anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanancha Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhaktao Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, who is the original person. He is absolute, infallible, and beginningless. And although expanded into unlimited forms, He is still the same original person, the oldest person, who always appears as a fresh youth. The eternal, blissful, all-knowing forms of the Lord cannot be understood even by the best Vedic scholars, but they are always manifest to pure and alloyed devotees. Lord Shiva places Himself as one of the non-devotees who cannot understand the identity of the Supreme Lord. The Lord, being Ananta, has an unlimited number of forms. Therefore, how is it possible for an ordinary common man to understand Him? Lord Shiva, of course, is above the ordinary human beings, yet He is unable to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Shiva is not among the ordinary living entities, nor is He in the category of Lord Vishnu. He is between Lord Vishnu and the common living entity. So, humbly requesting the blessings of the Vaishnavas, without which nothing can be achieved, so that I can speak something for my own purification and your transcendental pleasure. So now we're hearing of Lord Shiva. He is still more or less rebuking Mother Parvati for cursing Chitraketu. And he is saying that, in one sense you can say he's comparing the Lord and Chitraketu, because both, nor the activities of the Lord, nor the activities of the devotees can easily be understood. And particularly in this verse, he himself, Lord Shiva, he is in his own categories. No, he's not Jiva, he's not the Supreme Lord, but he's very elevated personality. He himself is saying, I cannot understand the Supreme Lord, nor Lord Brahma, nor Narada, nor the Ashvini Kumaras. So to understand the Lord in truth is not an easy thing. And even Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita explains, in many places he said, understand me in truth. And no one knows me. Mantu Vedana Kaschana. No one can understand me. So what means to know the absolute truth in truth? To understand actually who he is. In the same way, what means to understand what the devotees are, how Chitraketu was acting in the way that he was acting, that even Maya herself became bewildered. So, how do we know who Krishna is? This is explained in, actually, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and both Prabhupada, they stress this point very much, that in order to understand Krishna, the way to understand Krishna is through service. Krishna's teachings also. We cannot force maturity, we cannot force realization of Krishna. Sometimes the devotees want to jump into higher topics about Krishna Lila and Krishna's pastimes, but we cannot force. This takes place by revelation. Atashri Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Graham Indriya Sevum Mukhe Hijivado Sadyam es what is it? Swayam Eva Spuratya. That the holy name of Krishna is, and his pastimes, his activities, his form, they're all transcendental. And they can only be realized. They can be realized and by performing service that begins with the tongue, by chanting the holy name, taking Krishna Prasad, by rendering devotional service. You cannot force a realization of Krishna. Prabhupada will use the analogy of the sun. You cannot force the sun to appear. In the middle of the night, you cannot see the sun unless the sun manifests, unless the sun reveals himself. We cannot see the sun. So similarly, we cannot understand Krishna unless he chooses to reveal himself. And actually, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said that this verse, Atashri Krishna Namadi, should be framed and hung up everywhere, constantly reminding us that it's through service. Krishna in the Prabhupada, one of my favorite purposes in the Bhagavatam, in the Prabhupada's books is he's in the Adilila. He's saying that a realization of the absolute truths takes place in proportion to the degree that the person has developed a service attitude. And he says that actually that realization can only take place for one who has developed the single quality of submissiveness. And this is exemplified here by Chitraketu also. That what is the glory of Chitraketu? That he was cursed by Mother Parvati, and he accepted the curse. And why he could accept it? Why could he accept the curse? This is the external energy herself is, again, now you take birth in a demon's body. But he could see he had come to that platform of realization where he could see that everything is taken by Krishna's plan. Nothing takes place without Krishna's sanction. So whatever is happening in my life, it must be a blessing from Krishna. And therefore, I don't have anything to fear. And this is what is being glorified, that the devotee, he's happy in every situation. And why he is happy in every situation? Because he knows that his relationship with Krishna, it cannot be taken away. It's permanent. Either in hell or in heaven, whatever situation I find myself in, my relationship, that reciprocation for the Lord is permanent. It's permanent. So I don't have anything to worry. And this is such a kind of nice thought. And it's practical. This is not, it's something that is applicable for every one of us on a daily basis. That we are confronted with situations. And these really extreme examples, right? Like, you're cursed to take birth as a demon. Like some of us may be thinking, oh, my next period is Ketu, or something like that. We're worrying about what's going to happen, So much, still so much depending on external circumstances, rather than actually depending on Krishna, rather than actually having faith that there is a higher state of consciousness, there is a higher happiness, And that higher happiness is based on consciousness. It's not based on external happiness. And throughout the Bhagavatam, we have all these examples that the devotees want that truth, want to attain that state of consciousness. And even sometimes at the expense of their material happiness. Even I will remain loyal to the truth. I will do what is right to be done. Like in this case, Chitraketu. He didn't complain. And there is so many examples of this. That, the same situation, which can be a situation that can bring you down, the same situation can be used as an impetus. Prabhupada explains this in first canto. He says that, just like the expert electrician. This is my favorite purpose, perhaps in all of Prabhupada. He says that perfect electrician, he can turn the same energy. He can make cold. He can make heat. He can do both things with the same energy. So it says that the devotee is like an expert electrician. Whatever situation he finds himself in, he can turn that situation in. He can turn basically the energy, the external energy, can change it into internal. A situation which appears to be external, which appears to be, to bring me down, to cover me, actually acts in the opposite way. And it says, I'll read actually, because it's such a nice purport. I'll just read this, if I can find it quickly. This is from the first canto, okay? And this is relevant to this, and it's relevant to the whole Bhagavatam, actually. It says, this is text 34, chapter 3. If the illusory energy subsides and the living entity becomes fully enriched with knowledge by the grace of the Lord, then he becomes at once enlightened with self-realization and thus becomes situated in his own glory. Now, listen carefully. This is a little kind of profound. Because the Lord is the absolute transcendence, all of his forms, names, pastimes, attributes, associates, and energies are identical with him. His transcendental energy acts according to his omnipotency. Now, the same energy acts as his external, internal, and marginal energies. And by his omnipotency, he can perform anything and everything through the agency of any of the above energies. He can turn the external energy into internal by his will. Therefore, by his grace, the external energy, which is employed in illusioning those living beings who want to have it, subsides by the will of the Lord in terms of repentance and penance of the conditioned soul. So the same energy, in the case of Chitraketu, he accepted. He takes responsibility for the situation. He accepted penance, repentance. I'm actually, whatever is happening, is happening to rectify my consciousness. It may be delivered to me through someone, and the tendency of the material, the materially conditioned person is to blame. But actually he sees the Kovidas, the intelligent man, he sees beyond this. He sees actually, this is the Lord. The Lord is making this arrangement for my upliftment. And then if I respond in terms of repentance and penance, then the same energy which is supposed to bring me down will uplift me. And the very same energy then acts to help the purified living being make progress on the path of self-realization. The example of electrical energy is very appropriate in this connection. The expert electrician can utilize the electrical energy for both heating and cooling by adjustment only. Similarly, the external energy which now bewilders the living being into continuation of birth and death is turned into internal potency by the will of the Lord to lead the living beings to eternal life. When a living being is thus graced by the Lord, he is placed in his proper constitutional position to enjoy eternal spiritual life. So, and previous verses is described, but for a devotee there is no happiness, there is no distress. He's seeing everything equal. And it was quoted this Vismam Purnam Sukhayate. It says that for the devotee the world is full of happiness. And how is this achieved? Of course, it's very easy to say, right? But when the test comes, it's so difficult to put into practice. But it says that this can only be achieved by the mercy of Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by chanting the holy name, taking shelter of the holy name. And like Prabhupada, he emphasizes so much his mood. What was his mood? And his mission was to establish service, devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So by being constantly engaged in devotional service, by taking shelter of Krishna's holy names, we can confront every situation. We can turn any situation into a situation which is favorable for my Krishna consciousness. And this is the transformation of the heart. I remember there was some seminar that was saying that, how transformation begins. And it says that, beginning of it is good thoughts. Actually, this is another thing, like, it's talking about happiness. So what is the standard of happiness? What is happiness based on? What would you say is the source of happiness? Krishna, it's the source of everything. Yeah. Happiness itself. Okay. Yeah, Giri Govardhan, please. Pleasing Guru and Krishna. Yeah, we all study. Yeah, Lakshmi Monimate. Being satisfied. Yeah, but you see, the thing is that Chitraketu, he was able to accept the curse because he was satisfied. He had that state of consciousness in which he was satisfied. And this is the real standard of happiness. But generally we base our happiness in the external circumstances, what's happening. If everybody's being nice to me, if I'm getting fulfillment of my material desires. And still we bring this consciousness into devotional life, right? That if I fulfill my material desires, I can be happy. But actually, what the Bhagavatam is presenting is not that if I fulfill my material desires, but actually, if I depend on Krishna, if I am actually accepting every situation as Krishna's mercy, in due course of time, I will get that realization. I will actually understand who Krishna is in truth. And this is what Lord Shiva is praising here. He says, and he's placing himself as an ordinary conditioned soul, and he's even Narada Muni. Because the Lord is unlimited, and once, as we are realizing the absolute truth, as we are coming in contact with Him, we gain a standard of happiness and satisfaction where we become indifferent to the material world. And the example is given, turning this, the example Prabhupada gives about turning, the electrical energy into heat and cold. This is exemplified in the third canto when Vidura, there was Dhritarashtra, he actually called for him for advice. And there in the assembly there were also Duryodhan, the Kurus were there. And Vidura immediately he said, you must immediately return your share, their share to the Pandavas. He said, you're maintaining the son of his religion, Duryodhan. And he was there present. He said, this will be the cause of your own destruction. And at that point, he says that, Duryodhan, he became so angry, his lip was like trembling. And he said, throw him out of the palace and leave him only with his breath. He's spying against those who are maintaining him. Such envy. And it was his uncle. And what was Vidura's response? What will be your response in that situation, for that matter? Well, how will I respond? An inferior person is without any justification. It's one of the most annoying things when someone accuse you of something you haven't done, and is an unqualified person. It makes the blood boil sometimes, you know. But how did he respond? He responded in a way that he just took it, okay, this is the arrangement of Krishna. And he left the palace, put his bow on the door, and he left for pilgrimage. He saw that as an opportunity to escape the politics that were going on in the palace. And actually, you know, sometimes we have a romantic idea of surrender, but, you know, the fact was that he never saw Krishna again. He went for 35 years. He left the palace where Krishna went. He never saw Krishna again. But when Krishna was leaving the planet, who was he thinking of? He thought of Vidura, and when Uddhava told Vidura about this, Vidura was crying. So the same situation, the same energy, the same situation was acting internally for Vidura and externally for Duryodhana. We hear also when Krishna blew the conch, the transcendental conch at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, and he says that, you know, the Pandavas, when they heard the conch, they were like the sound of the conch shell. They were, you know, they were so jubilant, they were so happy. But the Kauravas, they felt their heart shattered. Same situation. So we have to train ourselves to, in one sense, you could say, to hear this transcendental sound of Krishna's conch shell. Whenever something happens to us, try to see how Krishna is helping me in this situation. This is what the Bhagavatam is teaching us throughout. And you know, Lord Shiva is glorifying Chitraketu for doing this, and is warning us also that we should not look at the devotees from an external point of view. It's very difficult to understand what the internal consciousness of the devotees. So I was saying, okay, happiness. We're talking about happiness, right? Happiness comes, and you know, our satisfaction comes from what kind of thoughts we have. You know, our thoughts. And where do we get good thoughts from? From Facebook, we get good thoughts. Many people believe this. Where do we get good thoughts from? From Shastra, Srimad Bhagavatam, from the sadhus. And then when we have good thoughts, then what happens is that then we act properly. From good thoughts come good actions. This is what we're supposed to read. We're reading Bhagavatam, we are getting good ideas. So we can apply them in our lives. And then when we apply them, then that takes, gives us realization. And then it becomes a habit. It's no longer we have to, make that effort to act in the proper way. It's natural for us. Like Chitraketu, he accepted the course. He immediately went and paid obeisances to Mother Parvati. He wasn't like, should I accept that? Should I reject it? No, it was natural for him. So from good actions come good habits. And then from good habits come, we develop the good character. And when we develop good character, then we attain the right destination. So it's interesting, Prabhupada says that, the illusory energy bewilders the living entity or the minds of those who want to have it. And again, in the purport to this pastime with Vidura and Duryodhana, Prabhupada says, a sentence is very, very nice. He says that the devotees are always in a renounced temperament because they know, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, because they know that the material energy cannot fully satisfy them. The devotee is always in a renounced temperament. So this is coming to the point that we want to develop that, we want to understand who Krishna is. We want to develop a relationship with Him. This is what understanding Krishna in truth means, understanding our relationship with Him through service, through chanting the holy name. And Lord Shiva, He's saying, He's praising. He said, "Not even we can understand." So how glorious is it? So Same way, no one even can understand the activities of the devotee. So I'm going to stick to the sign there because it says 1:45 finished. So I'll finish now and then we can have a few questions if someone has any questions. No questions? You accept it? Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for your wonderful lessons to us. And I have a question about just now you mentioned that the internal potency of the Lord. And as we know that when a devotee engaged the pure devotional service, he is in the internal potency of the Lord. He can see the Lord everywhere. But as we know that Lord Chaitanya, and he shows us very, very higher emotion. It's like the separation, the emotion of the separation to the Lord. So it seems that is a little different. My question is that if a devotee can see the Lord everywhere, how can he feel the separation of the Lord? This is my question. Thank you.
Well, in one sense, it's inconceivable, right? It's inconceivable. But the point there is that the devotee is so attached to the Lord that even like Lord Chaitanya, he's praying that even a moment become like 12 years because of their intense attachment for the Lord. That increases their love for them. So even though they are separated physically, but they are with the Lord. And just to bring it back to the topic that we were discussing, that we are practicing Bhakti Yoga, right? So yoga means to unite. Interestingly enough, it's the same meaning as religion. Religion means religare, re like in English, re, to do again, and ligare, ligar, it means to unite. So religion means to reunite. So yoga, so the whole process we were practicing, we are trying to reconnect with Krishna. This that you're talking about is a little high, That will come later. We will be able to understand this, at least for myself, at this stage, is very difficult. But we can begin to practice, to see Krishna in every situation. Learn to be being faithful, being grateful. And then these higher emotions, when they come, we will be able to understand. Yeah. And this is another point that is, about understanding Krishna in truth. And this is described in the Bhagavatam. The process to understand Krishna is that, begins by service, right? This is second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Sususo Sadadanasya, Vasudeva Kataruchi, Syamahatsevaya Vipra, Punya Tirtha Nishevana. That, by rendering devotional service to the devotees, one gains affinity from hearing about the message of Vasudeva. Then by hearing the message of when one develops a taste, Shimpata, Sokata, Krishna, Punya, then what happens is that Krishna, within the heart, will clean all the, Vidunoti Surichana, will clean all the anarthas. It will, you see, this point of knowing Krishna is not a matter of, reading about him. We have to hear about him from the proper sources, and we have to purify our hearts. You have to purify, and then Krishna, and how the process of the cleansing of the heart takes place. He cleanses from who? One who has developed the urge to hear about him. And then what happens after that? That, by regular attendance on classes of the Bhagavatam, hearing, then the Supreme Lord is established within one's heart. And then the effects of nature, most of passion, ignorance, lust, desire, hankering disappear from the heart. At that point, it says that, the devotee gains positive, scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation. So, that understanding of Krishna takes place when the heart becomes cleansed. And he says that at that point, the internal potency comes, descends. We're practicing sadhana bhakti, and we're, through our practice, we're calling for Krishna's mercy. And this is Prabhupada, actually it was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He makes it so simple for us. What did he say? Don't try to see Krishna, but act in ways that Krishna will want to see you. So when we come to the Lord, we want the Lord to see us. And when the Lord sees us, what does He see? Does He see our material body? He sees our hearts. He sees your desires, your motivations. So this is where we have to work on these things. And then these things will come. We'll understand what these higher emotions of separation, union. So the devotee gains, what is it? Evam prasanna manasa Bhagavat Bhakti Yogada. Bhagavat Tattva Vijnana Mukta Sangasi Jayate. Bhakti Yoga, through the process of bhakti. And practice of bhakti yoga, again, it means that, we will be, the material energy is actually favorable for our progress in Krishna consciousness. And the progress takes place by us taking shelter of Krishna in whatever situation we may find ourselves in. Through that, and this is like a bit of, like when you go to the gym, you have to use your muscles, right, to make them strong. So Krishna sends us tests, small tests. So we do a little exercise. And then from time to time, He will send big tests. Training our muscles, spiritual muscles, so that when it comes the time of death, we have no other shelter. Take shelter of Krishna alone. Hare Krishna. Any other question? Comment? Mother Lakshmi Mani. Can we have the mic?
Is it on? Yeah. It seems like the attitude or the mentality of the devotee, even though he's in the presence of Krishna all the time, he's always afraid of losing the presence of Krishna. And so there's this constant feeling of anxiety that now he's there, but he's going to be gone any minute. And there's that story of Srimati Radharani, when the bee was there and Madhu Mangala chased the bee away and said, now Madhu is gone, and she thought Krishna was gone, but Krishna was sitting right next to her. But because she heard him say that, she was thrown into anxiety. Oh my gosh, he's gone. So it seems like that feeling of separation, it's not even in terms of the physical presence, it's a state of mind that the devotee never gets enough of Krishna. So even when he's there, there's always the anxiety that he won't be there in a minute. And so there's both experiences almost simultaneously.
Yeah, and in the Nectar of Devotion it's also described that whenever you see Krishna, it's always like a newer experience. And he says that when this past, and also then when Srimati Radharani and Krishna, when they meet and they look at each other and they see the other person is so beautiful, then Krishna becomes more beautiful. Then Srimati Radharani sees Krishna becoming more beautiful, she becomes more beautiful. And then Krishna becomes more beautiful. And it goes per infinitum. So this, it's again to understand these truths. I find that we can grasp and we can get some inspiration, but actually I think it takes some internal change that needs to take place, to be able to comprehend these things. And I think that was Prabhupada's emphasis. And he was cautioning us also that, we don't jump ahead too fast, and, just let Krishna reveal these things. You become qualified to understand. What is it? First deserve, then desire. So, I just found very interesting that here himself, Lord Shiva, he's saying, I don't know. Brahma don't know, but he's the head of the Sampradaya. Narada Muni, he doesn't know. He's warning us. Don't take these things cheaply. Don't take Krishna's pastimes cheaply. Then you will be actually really wanting to know, when you actually understand how deep it is. Prabhupada told us, you go through the first 9 cantos, study the first 9 cantos, then go into the 10th canto. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he even forbade his disciples to read certain sections of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this aspect of knowing Krishna, don't take it cheaply. That's one aspect of the class. But the other aspect I was making, that Lord Shiva is compelling, he also says, and the devotees are also very difficult to understand. Very difficult. So I think you did the wrong thing cursing here, Chitraketu. I don't know if this is right to say. I was thinking this morning, something came, you may correct me, or some of the senior Vaishnava, but it seems like Maya got into Maya, right? Herself. Maya made a mistake there. I don't know if this is right or not. Can she get into Maya? But anyway, it is described that it was the arrangement of the Lord. What purpose? For what purpose? For the benefit of Chitraketu. He wanted Chitraketu to go back to him sooner. So therefore, he had to take a birth in the body of the demon. So it's for us, it's the same. He's doing all these things, and we should look at the bigger picture. That actually Krishna wants us back. So whatever arrangement, it may appear unfavorable, but on the long term, it is for my benefit. That is what is being taught, and we have to assimilate this, and then we become, this is Sambandha Jnana also. Then we become very. We're grounded. When things happen, we have something. That's what I say. We have good thoughts. Good thoughts. Then you can, in any situation, you can remain steady. That's why we need to read Prabhupada's books. That's why we have to study all Prabhupada's books carefully to get this understanding. Not to get into some higher, thing. Get the foundation right, and then we can move into other things. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your class. Just a question keeps coming in my mind when I'm hearing this pastime. That how you're saying any situation we can use it to raise ourselves. To the internal potency, or in the opposite way. But maybe it's, because of one's own limitations, because of one's own limitations, one might not be able to do that.
Yeah.
How does one know if one situation is
Thank you.
conducive?
Wonderful question. That's the best question I could possibly get today. How do you do it? How will you do it?
And how do you know if, maybe
But
Krishna,
what will you do in that situation? You know the answer.
Well, you can consult with
Yeah.
senior devotees.
Therefore, we need Senior Vaishnava Association to be able to see the truth. What is the truth? The truth is Krishna is there. Krishna wants us. We're his eternal servants. And he's helping us. But somehow we don't see this. Right? I don't see it most of the time. So I have to phone my Skype or consult with some senior, and then he said, no, it's like, and then you start to see the same situation from a different perspective. Krishna conscious perspective. So it takes adjustment. It's not like, this happened, yes, Krishna's mercy. It's also not like that. It takes, and sometimes it may take years. I just saw, my spiritual master, he left ISKCON some years back, and it was a traumatic experience for many of us. And I just, one of my god brothers the other day posted in Facebook, well, some good thoughts from Facebook, okay. He said that, actually, I can see now that I wouldn't be here if, all the things that we went through when my spiritual master left, So I thought such a nice thing. And then I was communicating with another god brother on email, and he said exactly the same thing. They didn't know what they were saying each other. So at the time of the trauma, it was not like Krishna's mercy. It was like, why this happened to me, But we see, we try to apply this thing, and then after some time, then you look back and say, actually, Krishna just, it's like, he shook us up. It's like this is described also in, what is it, the fourth canto? Yeah, when Dhruva Maharaj, when he's fighting the Yakshas, right? And he says that, the Yakshas, they were throwing arrows at him. It was like a storm of arrows. He couldn't see anything. And he compares this to like a storm on a peak, on a mountain peak. And he said, what does the storm do? After the storm is over, it cleanses the mountain peak is cleansed by the rain and everything. So similarly, it says that, that sometimes Krishna's test is like this, like, we're bombarding, we cannot even see what's going on. Therefore, we need to take shelter of the devotees. And then when we take shelter and then we see it, sometimes we will cry. That actually, Krishna is helping me, and I couldn't see it. What is the real problem? Is the real problem what's happening? Or is it my resistance to actually see that this is help? This is Krishna's arrangement. And this is high things. I'm trying to apply them myself, so I'm not saying that this is, you have to consult with the devotees. But the principle we should accept. That's what I'm talking. Yes, accept the principle. And then we can progress in Krishna consciousness very nicely. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Nitai Gaura Premanande.